Welcome back to another episode of the DH Newsroom. I'm Asra Mawad, and today we'll be discussing about GBA's first ever budget and the sixth budget the city has seen without an elected council. With me, I have my colleagues Sneha and Naveen. So, Naveen, to start with, can you give me a gist about what the budget brings to the table?
As you said, it is the sixth budget without the elected body. Have they done a good job? Not exactly. The reason because this is the sixth budget being presented by the senior officials without the elected body, and the payments to contractors have been delayed for 2 years. You do a work now, you get paid after 2 years, and with this delay, the quality of work also has deteriorated. So the final work we don't see it much. So I hoped that the budget would be very realistic. The payments are on time and the quality improves. That has not happened. Overall, all 5 corporations put together, they have presented 20,212 crore worth of outlay, and 50 to 60% goes to public works, 10% to solid waste management, another 20% to health, education and welfare, and rest is for the administrative expenses. That is the overall figures. So that's the money we are talking about.
Yeah, so when we're talking so much about 20,000 crores, I don't think the corporations will be able to raise so much from the property tax, right? I mean, it's mostly around 3,000, 4,000 crores overall was what we were seeing when it was BBMP.
Correct.
So how are these corporations planning to raise so much of revenue for all of these?
See, there is a focus on improving property tax. BBMP, the 5 corporations have done everything to make sure the property tax collection go up, but the figures are not very promising. So what they have done this time is there is premium FAR, and then there is regularization of Khata, that is from B Khata to A Khata, then single plot approval, advertisement fee. So these are the new schemes that they plan to make bet on and raise a lot of revenue.
I think all the 5 corporations also have kind of planning to bring up some 200 crores from municipal bonds, which is the state government budget made a mention of it. But do you think, is it realistic? Do you think they'll be able to raise so much from all of these?
No, it doesn't look like, because for example, regularizing Khata, they expect 1,000 crore, but that money wouldn't come because each property, if he wants to regularize from B Khata to A Khata, he has to pay 4-5 lakh rupee, and not many people find
That go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Premium FAR, I am pretty confident because of the real estate market that we see there is uptake. So I feel premium FAR is going to be bought. It will be sold like hotcakes.
And about the municipal bonds, you've previously mentioned how the BMRCL has done it and been pretty successful.
Yes, municipal bond, that's one revenue stream which they want to use it only for big infrastructure projects, which is good, especially in the city's outskirts where the road network coverage is pretty bad. So it's a good way of raising revenue.
So the whole point of bringing in the GBA was to decentralize governance in the city. Do you think that has happened, Sneha?
So when I saw the budget presentation, I would say probably because the 5 corporations presented their own budget, what I felt was definitely there was some stress on localized problems, because they know what the problems are. They've been on the ground, the officials have been on the ground, and now they have a lesser jurisdiction to look at. So I think one good thing that definitely has happened is there's a more focus on localized problems, localized issues. It's not just a umbrella budget. It's more localized and all of it. So I think there's been some use because of decentralization. For instance, some projects there've been specific mention of the projects that will be taken up and all of it.
In East Corporation, which I covered, what I found interesting is for the first time the civic body budget had grants set aside for flyover projects. Generally, that do not happen. Usually, all these BBMP, Palike budgets, what we have seen is lot of money goes into maintenance of existing infrastructure, whether it is fixing these roadside drains or street light maintenance, parks. Major works, that is flyovers or asphalting those major roads, the funds come from the state government. That is the standard we have seen for many years. But unlike this, East Corporation has given a lot of money for building flyover, that is extending. A lot of people on Vartur will benefit because this flyover, this grant of 150 crore they have given to extend KRDCL flyover beyond Gunjur. And then there is another flyover they have planned across Outer Ring Road. So this is something good that I have seen in East Corporation.
So that was because of one decentralization of
Yeah, maybe if the
governance and all of
BBMP had
that, right.
presented the budget, they wouldn't have known what is the actual problem.
Some things would be overlooked.
Yeah, overlooked.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the specifics would have been missed out. I mean that's I think the whole
Yeah,
point of
exactly.
decentralization also.
Yeah.
So what else does the East budget offer? I mean, apart from this infra push.
East, see, interestingly, East budget, they are actually the richest on not just on paper, but they are the richest corporation because a lot of property tax revenue. But what the government has done is, since East Corporation is richest, they have given the least allocation to East Corporation. West is the poorest, so they have given the maximum revenue
Revenue grants,
to West Corporation. But in the long run, it may not work. The reason is the government gives allocations based on the MLAs. If the MLA is from the ruling party, he gets higher allocation. So since the West Corporation has got more ruling party MLAs, they have got a higher share of allocation. So after 2.5 years, what happens we don't know. So whether this kind of arrangements, how long do they sustain, we don't know.
So the corporations kind of have to make a plan to make themselves sustainable, kind of.
Yeah, that is how it should be.
At least for the basic works that they take up,
Correct,
they should be able to fund themselves.
Yes, yes,
right,
yeah.
right.
Now that you covered South Corporation, what was that you found interesting?
So in South, one thing they kept talking about again and again was roads. They want a big road infra push where they are pushing 433 crores, from SIP grants and everything towards roads. There's a push towards road widening projects as well, right? Where the Begur road has been set aside for widening, and also the Subramanyapura road. Apart from this, one thing that I found interesting was South has a big garbage problem right now. So the corporation has sort of highlighted that, and they are pushing for zero waste wards, which I didn't see other corporations sort of highlight. They have zeroed in on Kormangla, where they see some best practices and they want to use it as a model for the rest of the wards. We can see how that sort of
And
pans
residents
out.
of that area are also very active.
Yeah,
solid
correct,
waste
yes.
management.
Yeah. So apart from that, there's also a sort of push towards tourism. Lake tourism is something that they are trying. So in Begur and Madiwala, they want to bring in boating facilities and see how they can sort of improve tourism in the wards. Is this happening in any of the other
Yeah. I
corporations?
think even the North Corporation made a mention that they want to start boating in lakes. So I think that's one thing they want to give a push towards. But actually, North Corporation, what I also found interesting about lakes is, apart from earmarking money just for maintenance of lakes, they've also kept aside about 40 crore specifically for development of lakes. I think they have about 36 lakes in North Corporation, and 6 of them are yet to be developed. So they've earmarked funds specifically for development apart from maintenance. So that's one thing about the lakes that the North Corporation has done. So when I'm speaking about North Corporation, they've also actually one thing I've actually liked about the North Corporation budget is they've kind of kept aside small amount of funds for every category. For students, they have about 1 to 2 crores for some schemes, distribution of laptops and all of it. There's some 1 to 2 crore for women welfare, where they want to distribute vehicles for women, and actually they've kept up about I think about 75 lakhs for transgender community also. So they've tried to make a balance between infrastructure push and welfare, trying to kind of woo all the people, like kind of something for everyone kind of attitude. But again, I think they want to take up 4 main roads for widening. That's again going to, I'm sure, is going to ease a lot of traffic problems in those areas. They want to take up the Nitte Meenakshi Engineering College Road, the gas pipeline road, the Dasarali main road, and I think the Bengaluru main road also. So this I think is going to definitely ease some problem for the residents in those areas. I think apart from it, I think it's always very generic. Is that what you saw in West also?
See, what happens in these budgets, they announce all these road widening projects, but they don't keep sufficient funds. I saw North Corporation has given only 17 crore,
for
while other corporations have at least given some 20, 30 crore. Ideally, it should be 50 to 100 crores, because now what they depend on is TDR scheme to acquire land, but that has not been very successful. Road acquisition is an issue, at least there are bottlenecks that need to be cleared, but they don't keep money because there is no immediate results, or no engineers want
But I think we've seen a lot of projects get stuck with at that point, right? Land acquisition is a big problem.
Because as in preparing the budget, a lot of money is kept aside for projects, but critical aspects like land acquisition, there is no money kept, because that's a difficult job.
Right.
So that is that is what we see in every budget.
So these specifications, like you mentioned, Sneha, so I saw some of that was missing in the South's budget.
Correct. I think it was more generic.
Right. Like for example, they have said they will be developing the Banarghatta road from Devi Circle to Nice Road, and they're planning for 18 skywalks. There's a lot mentioned even in welfare, but it seems to be sort of all over the top. There's not a lot of detail that we can find.
So some corporations, what I found, see, a corporation is end of the day an independent body. They are giving a lot of funds to B-Smile, but they are not telling the B-Smile what are the projects you should do. So that authority to decide the project is on B-Smile. Ideally, it should have been on the corporation, because they are footing the bill. So that is something that I saw across all
the corporations, right?
They have allocated funds, but they have not told them, these are the works I want you to do.
So I think there are 2 categories where they say we want to do something, but they haven't allocated funds or anything like that. And there's another category where they have said, like for B-Smile and all of it, the advertisement fee, some portion or the whole of it is going to go to B-Smile, but we don't know what the B-Smile is going to do with it.
So I think Corporation has given 650 crore for Sanchara some scheme,
Sugama
Sanchara, but it is not clear for what it is going to be used.
And I felt Central Corporation, most of the funds, they kind of tried to keep it aside for redevelopment, because we know, I mean, they can't tell that they're going to do anything new, given that the city's core area is developed. So I think they said we are going to develop iconic buildings. I think one major allocation was also for Russell Market, where they said they're going to spend 70 crores to redevelop it, and Alsur Lake. Again, in Alsur Lake, they want to make it a tourist attraction. So they've allocated 20 crores, but I think along with the minor irrigation department, they're going to spend about 100 crores.
100 crores. In West Corporation, what I found interesting is the commissioner made sure the constituencies, all 10 constituencies, the names are mentioned in the budget. Basically
I think they have a lot of keep everyone in good books.
There was at least one new project in all 10 constituencies.
That's interesting.
All are big. It was there.
Okay. And what are we seeing for pedestrian safety? So here there are lots of skywalks in South Bangalore, right, that they want to bring in, and junction improvements. So what about the other corporations?
I think pedestrian friendly measures have been pretty much of a focus in North Corporation. That's also something that I thought stood out, because he said that they want to develop 1,000 kilometers of footpath, which is not small at all. It's pretty big, and it's I mean, if you ask me, it is going to improve everyone's day-to-day life, because so people walking across the road, they don't have space on the footpath, they walk down, all of these accidents and all of it. But 1,000 kilometer is pretty big of a network to redevelop. I think in the central corporation, given the traffic and so much of chaos, they said the traffic police have suggested that they build 9 new skywalks, and they did announce it, but again they're going to take up that under the PPP model, where it will be in private partnership,
Funded by the
private entities. So, but again, the
they are
maintenance.
more
and
of an
all of it is-
advertisement boards than a.
Exactly.
I think the maintenance of skywalks is something that
Because
they.
one of the names I saw is Old Madras Road. There is a skywalk that is planned. But across the road, it's a defense area. I mean, who would climb the
And-
skywalk to go into that? So.
I think because they have such ambitious advertisement fee and
Bring in
all
the
of it.
revenue.
Bring in revenue. I think
Yeah.
some approvals of such things might be in interest of revenue generation or something like that.
So one thing that stood out for me particularly in the south is the 150 crores that have been set aside for a new building for the corporation itself. So for the South City Corporation, a new building right opposite the Banashankari temple, which already is quite a packed part of Banashankari. So
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, definitely, because
Yeah, maybe because they want to be when the new elections, there are elections, they want to have a separate space for mayors and corporators. I think that all corporations are planning in the same way, but in east and west, I think the money that they have allocated is just
Much
20,
lower.
much lower.
I think even the North Corporation has, I think, set aside about 50 crore or something. That is, I think, way less than 150 crore. Which
Yeah.
is
I think Central already has a building.
Central, they didn't mention anything specific. So, I mean, given that the BBMP office was here around, so they might have their
Utilize
the same as well. So, but definitely not
150 crores. Yeah.
Maybe the South Corporation wants to do it in a year.
But yeah, I think there were some points that stood out. Definitely, we can't say there was nothing at all, but there was. It was more. I mean, for instance, the focus on pedestrian footpaths and the road widening projects. There were some focused, localized solutions that the budget offered. But I don't know. But since it's a first budget, maybe we'll have to see how it's implemented.
Wait
I
and
think
watch.
That's what actually.
What the budget means to citizens is that there is a lot of funds allocated for maintenance works, whether it is ward roads, whether it is footpaths, to parks, street lights, and major roads. But as you know, most of these facilities are not maintained regularly. So as a citizen, we have to demand and we have to keep a track of, make sure that BBMP does their work regularly. Just to give you some data, for maintenance of major roads, they spend some 30 crore a year. Stormwater drain, they spend another 30-40 crores every year. Parks, also the allocation is substantial. Street lights, I think the bill goes,
electricity bill
is
itself goes up to
huge. But we know the reality, right? Lot of it, the infrastructure, basic infrastructure is not taken seriously. Neither the senior officials also do not get to know, because, for example, what happens in Whitefield, it does not, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
So ideally, citizens have to now, take control of what is happening in their ward, so that we get to know, all that the crores of numbers that we spoke about.
So ideally, more
is
than
reflected
these
on the
bigger projects, even if they do the basic, it is
Basic,
still
yeah,
very
yes.
good actually.
The
If they're
broad-
able to do
the
basic,
Some impact is
Yes.
seen.
give us basic roads, basic
Yeah.
stormwater drains
Correct.
maintained.
See, the broad philosophy, as I said before, state government grants is generally used for major works. BBMP, the corporation grants are used for maintenance of upkeep of
Correct.
existing infrastructure. The upkeep of existing infrastructure is also very important because you can't keep building
Correct, right.
new roads, new flyovers. You have to also maintain.
Correct.
But that maintenance part is something we are lagging. One part, I'll come to what I told you in the beginning, is the delayed payments. If you are paying a contractor 2 years later,
Obviously,
what quality?
He wouldn't be interested in
Yeah.
doing
Correct,
the works
yeah,
also.
so- And by the time he comes for bills, nobody would know whether he has done the work.
The
or
job
not.
even, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the reason our, the basic infrastructure is bad. Basic in the sense, the road in front of your house or the footpath slab, something like this. We keep.
Right.
So basically, we have to wait and watch now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Keep
the
a
budget
watch on the BBMP budget.
implementation on ground is what we have to see
What we have to
over
see,
the
yeah.
year at least. If not for the new projects, at least like
Yeah.
Naveen said, if
Just
the basics,
maintenance, yeah.
if they do good
Yeah.
work with the
Correct.
basic
Yeah.
maintenance,
Yeah.
I think we'll be
Yes.
more than happy
Happy,
with.
yeah. definitely.
Ideally, all the corporations should cut down their expenditure and by half, pay all the pending bills.
Pending bills.
And
Right.
next year, present a realistic budget and pay them so early that we know what's happening immediately.
Correct. Right.
So that was our take on the GBA budget. What did you think? What stood out to you? Mention in the comments below. For more videos like this, subscribe to the Deccan Herald YouTube channel and follow us on social media. See you next time.